On the south side of Moscow's Red Square, there is a beautiful, colorful building known as St. Basil's Cathedral, constructed by the Russian Tsar to commemorate the conquest of the Khanate of Kazan. It is said that because this building was so magnificent, Tsar Ivan IV did not want his architect to create anything more splendid and allegedly ordered the architect to be blinded. Ivan IV was the first monarch in Russian history to take the title of Tsar and is known in Russian history for being cruel, cunning, mysterious, and tyrannical. Today, let's talk about his story. On August 25, 1530, a little prince was born in the Moscow Kremlin, who would later become Tsar Ivan IV. At that time, thunder roared across the skies of Moscow, and a bolt of lightning struck the Kremlin. This was considered an ominous sign. The Russian nobility sent a delegation to the Khanate of Kazan, located to the east of Russia, to ask the Khan to explain this celestial phenomenon. The Khan's wife, skilled in interpreting celestial signs, said, "A Tsar has been born among you with 2 rows of teeth, one to devour us and one to devour you." Because this future Tsar was born amidst thunder and had a fiery temper, he was later known as Ivan the Terrible, or Ivan the Thunderer. In 1533, Vasily III passed away, leaving a will that established a regency council composed of Elena and 7 prominent nobles to govern on behalf of Ivan IV until he came of age. However, Elena quickly became incompatible with many of the nobles. She dissolved the regency council, seized full power for herself, and is said to have caused the deaths of Vasily III's 2 brothers. It is rumored that during these brutal political struggles, Ivan V's mother, Elena, was exiled to a convent and separated from him for many years. During this time, Ivan the Terrible was raised by his grandmother, but he seemingly did not receive enough attention and care, which likely had an impact on his personality and behavior. In 1538, Elena suddenly passed away, reportedly poisoned by political rivals. That year, Ivan IV was just 8 years old. The court nobles never took the young Ivan IV seriously, constantly fighting for power and influence in front of him, even threatening and insulting him, treating him like a prisoner in the Kremlin. This treatment filled Ivan IV with hatred towards those nobles from an early age, making him particularly cruel. In his youth, Ivan IV would cruelly pluck feathers from birds, gouge out their eyes to watch them slowly die, or throw kittens and puppies from tower tops for amusement. Fortunately, his tutor, the Archbishop Macarius, taught him to read and write, turning him into a cultured ruler of Russia. Macarius also instilled in him the idea of establishing the authority of the monarchy and the concept of building a great Orthodox empire. In 1547, at the age of 17, Ivan came of age for his coronation. A grand ceremony was held in the Kremlin Cathedral. Archbishop Macarius placed a crown passed down from the Eastern Roman Empire on his head. To signify his unlimited power, he adopted the title of Tsar, a term not coined by Ivan but derived from the ancient Roman title Caesar. Ivan IV became Russia's first Tsar. Although the young Ivan was crowned emperor, the powerful Glinsky family, related to Ivan as his uncles, held the real power within the court. The Glinskys were notorious for their oppressive extortion and autocratic rule, causing widespread resentment among the people of Moscow. 5 months after Ivan's coronation, a terrible fire engulfed Moscow during a dry summer, with fierce flames destroying much of the city, killing 1,700 people and leaving many homeless. Rumors spread that the fire was set by the Glinsky family, leading to furious mobs focusing their hatred on them. The enraged populace stormed the Kremlin, found a member of the Glinsky family, and stoned him to death on the spot. The mob then looted the Glinsky residences and killed all the Glinsky family members they could find. Faced with the uncontrollable rage of the masses, Tsar Ivan IV swore to punish the Glinsky family, which finally dispersed the crowd. The rebellion of the people terrified Ivan IV, teaching him a lesson that he should exercise power himself to govern the country and no longer allow the nobility to do as they please. Consequently, Ivan IV began political reforms. He significantly strengthened royal authority, weakened and attacked the power of the nobility, and elevated the status of the middle and lower nobility and city merchants. He unified the country's laws, appointing middle and lower nobles as judges, and issued military service regulations stipulating that anyone owning 150 Russian acres of land must provide one cavalryman for military service, thereby increasing the strength of the Tsar's army. After stabilizing his rule, Ivan IV started to expand into surrounding regions to enlarge the territory of Tsarist Russia. Ivan's first target of aggression was the Khanate of Kazan, located in the middle reaches of the Volga River. The Khanate of Kazan, established by the Mongols, was a feudal state. Due to its strategic location, bustling commerce, fertile lands, and rich resources, it had long been coveted by successive Russian rulers. During Ivan IV's reign, he launched 3 military campaigns against Kazan, all of which ended in failure. However, undeterred by these setbacks and after reforming his army, Ivan embarked on a 4th invasion. In 1552, Ivan IV personally led an army of 150,000 soldiers and 150 cannons, even bringing along mobile siege towers to directly assault the city of Kazan in late August. The Kazan defenders numbered only 30,000 and were equipped with matchlock guns, but the soldiers and citizens of Kazan bravely resisted the invaders. After a month of siege warfare, the Russian army still could not breach the city. At this point, Ivan devised a plan. He ordered his men to capture 340 people from outside the city as hostages and brought them to the city gates, demanding the Kazan defenders surrender. However, the Kazan defenders refused to surrender. In a fit of rage, Ivan ordered the execution of all the hostages right before the city walls. Following this, the Russian army launched an even more fierce attack. The soldiers and citizens of Kazan fought bravely and refused to surrender, with each advance of the Russian army coming at a great cost. Eventually, the Russian forces managed to destroy the underground water channels, cutting off Kazan's water supply, and spent 10 days digging a 200-meter secret tunnel right up to the base of the city walls. The Russian army then breached a section of the wall and stormed into the city. On October 2nd, the city of Kazan was finally captured. Most of the Kazan defenders were killed, women and children were captured, treasures looted, and houses burned. The Khanate of Kazan was incorporated into the Russian territory. Ivan IV then proclaimed himself the Tsar of Kazan. Afterward, Ivan IV also conquered the Astrakhan Khanate, located downstream of the Volga River, and engaged in a 25-year-long war with Poland and Sweden, which ultimately ended in failure. While expanding Russia's borders, Ivan IV focused domestically on curbing the power of the hereditary nobility. For this purpose, he meticulously designed the Oprichnina system. On December 3, 1564, the Tsar and his family suddenly left the Kremlin by carriage. This departure was unusual, conducted in strict secrecy and with a particularly somber atmosphere, indicating that a severe conflict was imminent. A month later, when representatives of the nobility and the clergy found the Tsar and pleaded for his return, he sharply criticized the nobility for their disloyalty. He agreed to return to power, but demanded extraordinary authority to deal with the disobedient nobility. In mid-February of the following year, Ivan IV returned to the capital and announced the implementation of the Oprichnina. He first divided the country's territory into regular and Oprichnina zones. The Oprichnina zones, located mainly in central Russia, covered about half of the country's land. These areas were rich and prosperous with significant military importance. All lands within the Oprichnina zones became property of the royal estate and were granted by the Tsar to loyal lesser nobility. The great nobles within these zones were relocated to remote areas. Then Ivan IV established the Oprichnina army to eliminate great nobles disloyal to the Tsar. The Oprichnina cavalry consisted of 1,000 carefully selected members. Dressed in black, the Oprichnina army, under the direct command of the Tsar, suppressed and massacred many groups of great nobles. Ivan, inherently suspicious, fickle, and extremely cruel, relied on the Oprichnina army to kill more than 4,000 great nobles, with the number of civilians killed being incalculable. Amid prolonged internal struggles and foreign wars, he became mentally unstable. Once, in a fit of rage, he accidentally killed his own son and was subsequently consumed with remorse. Having just passed the age of 50, he had visibly aged with a vacant expression. On March 19, 1584, Ivan IV suddenly collapsed and died while playing chess. The cause of his death remains unknown, making it an enduring historical mystery. That concludes today's story. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly supports us. This is the History Microfilms, and we'll see you in the next video.